The most dangerous kind of rejection is not when someone leaves you, it is when they keep you close enough to hope, but never close enough to choose. They give you just enough attention to stop you from walking away, but never enough certainty to make you feel secure. And every day you stay, waiting for them to finally see your worth, you slowly abandon yourself for someone who has already decided how little they are willing to give you. Chapter 1. The pain of being almost chosen. Being rejected clearly is painful, but being almost chosen can be worse. A clear rejection hurts because it closes a door. It tells you that the person does not want the same thing you want. The truth may be difficult to accept, but at least you know where you stand. You can grieve. You can feel disappointed. You can slowly accept what happened and begin moving forward. But being almost chosen does not give you that clarity. It keeps the door slightly open. It keeps you waiting. It gives you just enough hope to stop you from leaving, but never enough certainty to make you feel safe. One day, they are warm and affectionate. They speak to you as if you are deeply important to them. They make plans, share personal thoughts, and create moments that feel meaningful. You begin believing that the relationship is finally moving forward. Then suddenly, they become distant. Their replies change. Their effort disappears. The promises become vague. The plans are delayed. And once again, you are left wondering what happened. This pattern can become emotionally exhausting. They come close enough to make you feel chosen, then pull away before anything becomes real. They tell you that they care, but they do not behave like someone who is willing to protect the connection. They say that you matter, but their actions keep placing you in a position where you have to question your importance. This confusion is not harmless. Over time, it begins to change the way you see yourself. You start asking what you did wrong. You replay conversations in your mind, searching for the moment when everything changed. You study your messages and wonder whether you said too much. You question whether you were too available, too emotional, too honest, too needy, or not interesting enough. You may even start changing your personality to keep their attention. You become quieter because you are afraid of pushing them away. You stop expressing your needs because you do not want to appear demanding. You pretend that their silence does not bother you. You accept less effort than you truly need. You convince yourself that being patient is a sign of love, even when your patience is slowly turning into self-neglect. The most damaging part is that you begin treating their inconsistency as proof that something is wrong with you. But someone's inability to choose you is not always evidence of your inadequacy. Sometimes it is evidence of their indecision, their immaturity, their selfishness, their emotional unavailability, or their desire to keep you nearby without giving you anything solid. Some people do not want a real relationship with you, but they also do not want to lose the comfort you provide. They enjoy your attention. They like knowing that you are available. They appreciate your loyalty, encouragement, and emotional support. But they do not want the responsibility that comes with choosing you fully. They want access without commitment, comfort without responsibility, loyalty without accountability. They want the benefits of your presence while remaining free to treat you as temporary. And because you care about them, you may continue interpreting every small gesture as proof that things are finally changing. A sudden message feels like progress. A late-night apology feels like transformation. A few affectionate words feel like commitment. You tell yourself that they are becoming ready. You convince yourself that they are only afraid. You believe that if you remain patient, understanding, and loving enough, they will eventually see your value and choose you properly. But love cannot force clarity out of someone committed to confusion. You cannot love someone into emotional maturity. You cannot sacrifice enough to make an indecisive person become certain. You cannot prove your worth to someone who benefits from keeping you uncertain. The problem is not that you have failed to give enough. The problem may be that you are giving too much to someone who has learned that they can receive your love without offering security in return. This is why almost being chosen is so painful. You are not only attached to the person, you are attached to the possibility of who they might become. You are holding on to future promises instead of present behavior. You are building emotional hope around moments that never become a stable pattern. You are not grieving a complete ending because the relationship keeps restarting. Every time you begin to accept the truth, they return with just enough attention to make you doubt your decision. This creates a cycle: hope, confusion, disappointment, distance, then hope again. And each time the cycle repeats, leaving becomes more difficult because you tell yourself that you have already invested too much. But staying longer does not create commitment. Waiting does not guarantee change, and suffering does not make a relationship more valuable. The first step toward freedom is admitting what the situation is actually doing to you, not what it could become, not what they promised months ago, not what you imagine will happen one day. Look at what the relationship is right now. Ask yourself how often you feel calm compared to how often you feel anxious. Ask yourself whether you feel valued or merely tolerated. Ask yourself whether their actions give you security or constantly force you to search for reassurance. A healthy connection should not require you to spend every day wondering whether you still matter. It should not make you feel disposable. It should not leave you emotionally hungry while convincing you to be grateful for crumbs. If you constantly feel anxious, uncertain, confused, and afraid of being replaced, then the relationship is already giving you an answer. You may not be hearing that answer through words. You are hearing it through patterns. You are not asking for too much by wanting clarity. You are not difficult for needing consistency. You are not selfish for wanting to know where you stand. You are simply asking to be treated like someone who matters. And when a person repeatedly refuses to give you that basic certainty, the truth becomes painful but clear. You are not being chosen in the way you deserve. The question is no longer whether they will finally choose you. The real question is how long you will continue abandoning yourself while waiting. Chapter 2. Stop confusing attention with commitment. Attention can feel powerful, especially when it comes from someone you deeply want. A message from them can change your entire mood. A compliment can make you forget how ignored you felt the day before. A warm conversation can convince you that everything is finally becoming real. This is why attention is so easy to confuse with commitment. Attention gives you a feeling. Commitment gives you security. Attention may appear suddenly and disappear just as quickly. Commitment remains present even when the excitement fades. Someone can think about you without building a life with you. They can miss you without being ready to treat you properly. They can enjoy your company without being willing to offer you honesty, consistency, or emotional safety. They may feel attracted to you. They may care about you in some way. They may even believe their own words when they say you are important. But feelings alone do not create a healthy relationship. A person can have feelings for you and still be incapable of loving you in the way you need. That is the truth many people struggle to accept. You may believe that because someone keeps returning, they must truly want you. But sometimes people return because they are lonely. Sometimes they return because they miss the attention you gave them. Sometimes they return because they want comfort, reassurance, or validation. And sometimes they return because they do not want to see you move on, even though they still do not plan to choose you fully. Their return may feel meaningful to you, but a return is not always a decision. It may only be another moment of emotional need. This is where many people become trapped. They focus on isolated moments instead of repeated patterns. They remember the night the person said something beautiful, but ignore the many days when their actions showed no effort. They hold on to one apology and forget the behavior that keeps repeating. They think about one promise and overlook the fact that nothing has changed. When you want to believe in someone, you naturally search for evidence that supports your hope. You notice every kind word, every sign of affection, every small improvement. But you may ignore the larger truth because it is more painful. The larger truth is that commitment is not proven by occasional intensity, it is proven by consistency. Real commitment is often less dramatic than attention. It does not always arrive through emotional speeches or unforgettable moments. It is shown through simple, repeated behavior. They call when they say they will. They make time for you. They communicate honestly. They include you in their plans. They take your feelings seriously. They do not disappear whenever the relationship requires effort. Commitment means that you do not have to keep guessing. You are not constantly trying to understand what every message means. You are not looking for hidden signs in their behavior. You are not spending your nights asking friends whether the person truly cares. Their actions answer the question. A person who is serious about you may not be perfect. They may make mistakes. They may become busy. They may occasionally misunderstand you. But there is a difference between human imperfection and repeated emotional neglect. Mistakes can be discussed. Confusion can be clarified. Problems can be repaired when both people are willing. But a pattern of mixed signals is different. A person who keeps you uncertain while enjoying your loyalty is not simply confused. At some point, their refusal to decide becomes a decision. You should not have to persuade someone to give you basic respect. You should not have to prove that your feelings deserve consideration. You should not have to perform perfectly to keep their attention. A healthy connection does not require constant emotional competition. You do not have to be more attractive, more understanding, more patient, or less demanding to become worthy of commitment. Someone who wants the benefits of your love without the responsibility of choosing you may give you just enough attention to keep you emotionally invested. They may send a message when they feel you pulling away. They may become affectionate when they sense you are tired of waiting. They may promise change when they realize you are close to leaving. Then, once they feel secure that you are still there, the effort disappears again. This does not always happen because they are planning to hurt you. Sometimes it happens because they are emotionally immature. Sometimes they do not understand their own behavior. But whether it is intentional or not, the effect on you is the same. You remain stuck. You keep hoping. You keep giving. And you continue receiving less than you need. You must learn to judge a relationship by what it repeatedly gives you, not by what it occasionally makes you feel. One perfect evening cannot erase months of confusion. One apology cannot repair a pattern without changed behavior. One emotional conversation cannot replace daily effort. Words matter, but only when actions support them. Promises matter, but only when they become visible choices. Do not allow a few powerful moments to distract you from a weak pattern. Ask yourself whether the person's care is dependable. Do they show up when it is inconvenient? Do they listen when your feelings are uncomfortable? Do they take responsibility when they hurt you? Do they create space for you in their real life, or only contact you when it suits them? These questions reveal more than romantic words ever will. You also need to examine what you are giving. Are you offering commitment-level loyalty to someone who gives you convenience-level effort? Are you emotionally available at all times, while they appear only when they are bored, lonely, or in need? Are you organizing your life around someone who refuses to make clear space for you? Your time is not unlimited. Your emotional energy is valuable. Your loyalty should not be given automatically to anyone who shows occasional interest. You are allowed to expect effort that matches your own. You are allowed to step back when the connection remains one-sided. You are allowed to stop being grateful for attention that keeps you emotionally hungry. Do not confuse being wanted in a moment with being chosen for a life. Do not confuse attraction with intention. Do not confuse someone's fear of losing access to you with their willingness to build something real. Attention may make you feel seen for a few hours. Commitment makes you feel safe over time. When you understand the difference, you stop being impressed by temporary effort. You stop allowing words to carry more weight than behavior. You stop waiting for potential to become reality, and you begin protecting yourself from relationships that offer excitement without stability. The question is not whether they sometimes make you feel special. The question is whether their choices consistently make you feel secure, respected, and valued. If the answer is no, then what you are receiving may be attention, but it is not commitment. Chapter 3. Why you keep begging to be chosen. It is easy to focus only on the other person. You may think about their mixed signals, their silence, their excuses, and the way they keep you waiting. And yes, their behavior matters. But healing also requires you to ask a more difficult question. Why do you keep staying? Why do you continue reaching out after being ignored? Why do you keep explaining your worth to someone who has already shown you how little effort they are willing to give? Why does their approval feel more important than your peace? These questions are uncomfortable because they force you to look beyond the current relationship. Sometimes the reason you keep begging to be chosen has very little to do with the person in front of you. It may begin with an older wound. Perhaps you grew up feeling unseen. Maybe affection was inconsistent. Maybe love was available only when you behaved correctly, achieved something, stayed quiet, or made life easier for everyone else. You may have learned that love had to be earned. You may have learned that being good, useful, patient, or easy to handle was the only way to feel accepted. And when love becomes something you must earn, rejection feels personal. It does not simply feel like one person does not want the relationship. It feels like proof that you are not enough. This is why some people try harder when they are treated poorly. Instead of stepping back, they increase their effort. They become more available, more understanding, more forgiving, more willing to ignore their own needs. They believe that if they can just love better, explain better, wait longer, or become easier to choose, the other person will finally recognize their value. But this pattern rarely creates love. It creates exhaustion. You may think you are fighting for the relationship, but in reality, you may be fighting against an old belief that says you must prove you are worthy. Every time the person becomes distant, that belief becomes louder. You begin thinking, what can I do differently? You ask yourself how you can become more attractive, more interesting, less emotional, less demanding, or more patient. You start treating their withdrawal like a test you must pass. But healthy love is not an examination. You should not have to perform constantly to remain important. You should not have to become smaller so another person feels comfortable enough to stay. The need to be chosen can also come from fear. You may be afraid that if this person leaves, no one else will come. You may believe they are your last chance at love. You may feel that starting over would be too painful. So even when the relationship is damaging you, you hold on because the unknown feels worse. Familiar pain can feel safer than unfamiliar freedom. At least with familiar pain, you know what to expect. You know the cycle. They disappear. You become anxious. You reach out. They return. You feel relieved. Then the same pattern begins again. The cycle hurts, but it also becomes familiar, and familiarity can be mistaken for connection. You may even begin to depend on the relief that comes when they return. Their attention feels stronger because it follows silence. Their affection feels more valuable because you had to wait for it. Their kindness feels extraordinary because you have become used to disappointment. This does not mean the relationship is deep. It may mean your nervous system has become attached to unpredictability. You are not only waiting for love, you are waiting for relief. And the same person who creates the anxiety becomes the person you depend on to remove it. This is one reason letting go feels so difficult. You know they hurt you, but you also crave the comfort you feel when they return. You know the connection is unstable, but you still hope the next conversation will be different. You know you deserve better, but emotionally, you remain tied to the possibility that they will finally become who you need them to be. That possibility can be more powerful than reality. You may not be attached only to who they are. You may be attached to who you imagined they could become. You see their potential, you remember their best moments, you hold on to their promises, and you build a future around a version of them that rarely appears. This is dangerous because potential has no responsibility. Potential can promise anything. Reality is what you must live with. Another reason you keep begging to be chosen is that their choice may feel like proof. If they finally commit to you, perhaps you believe it will confirm that you were lovable all along. It will prove that you were not foolish for waiting. It will prove that your patience mattered. It will make all the pain feel meaningful. But this is a trap. You do not need someone who repeatedly rejected your needs to confirm your worth. Their decision cannot heal the part of you that believed you were not enough. Even if they chose you tomorrow, the insecurity may remain. You may continue worrying that they will change their mind. You may continue overgiving to keep them. You may continue accepting poor treatment because you are terrified of losing the validation you worked so hard to receive. The deeper wound must be healed within you. You must stop using another person's attention as evidence that you matter. You must stop allowing their inconsistency to define your confidence. You were valuable before they noticed you. You remained valuable when they ignored you. You are still valuable, even if they never choose you. Their inability to see your worth does not reduce it. A person can walk past something precious without understanding what they have lost. That does not make it less precious. You also need to be honest about what you call loyalty. Sometimes loyalty is genuine, but sometimes what you call loyalty is fear of letting go. Sometimes patience is self-abandonment. Sometimes forgiveness is an excuse to avoid making a difficult decision. Sometimes understanding someone's pain becomes a way of ignoring the pain they keep causing you. You can understand why someone behaves badly without continuing to accept it. You can care about their wounds without making yourself responsible for healing them. You can love someone and still admit that loving them is destroying your peace. Real healing begins when you stop asking, "How can I make them choose me?" and start asking, "Why am I choosing someone who keeps making me beg?" That question changes everything. It moves your attention away from their approval and back toward your own decisions. It reminds you that you are not powerless. You may not control whether they commit, change, or return, but you control whether you continue participating in the same cycle. You control how much access they receive. You control whether your standards remain real or disappear the moment you feel lonely. You control whether you continue treating rejection like a challenge to prove yourself. The goal is not to become cold. The goal is to become aware, to recognize when you are trying to win love instead of receiving it, to notice when you are chasing validation instead of building a healthy connection, to understand that being chosen by the wrong person will not heal the wound that taught you to abandon yourself. You do not need to convince someone to see your value. You need to stop standing in front of people who benefit from pretending not to see it. The moment you understand why you keep begging to be chosen, you can begin breaking the pattern. You can choose differently. You can stop chasing what feels familiar and start accepting what feels healthy. You can allow rejection to be information instead of a judgment on your worth. And most importantly, you can stop asking someone else to give you the acceptance you have been refusing to give yourself. Chapter 4. The hidden cost of staying. Every time you remain in a place where you are repeatedly undervalued, you pay a price. At first, that price may not seem serious. You may think you are only losing a little sleep. You may believe you are simply having a difficult week. You may tell yourself that every relationship has problems and that patience is necessary. But when disappointment becomes a pattern, the cost grows. It begins affecting the way you think, feel, and see yourself. Some costs are easy to notice. You cry more often. You struggle to sleep. You lose your appetite. You check your phone constantly. You find it difficult to focus on work, family, or personal goals because your mind is always occupied with the relationship. You wonder whether they will reply. You question whether they are losing interest. You prepare yourself for another disappointment. But the deepest damage is often quieter. The longer you stay, the more you may lose trust in yourself. You notice the warning signs, but you ignore them. You feel that something is wrong, but you silence your intuition. You tell yourself that you are overthinking. You make excuses for behavior that would concern you if it were happening to someone you loved. You promise yourself that you will walk away if it happens again. Then it happens again, and you remain. Each time you break a promise to yourself, your confidence becomes weaker. You begin teaching yourself that your own boundaries are not serious. You say that you will not accept disrespect, but then you accept it because they apologize. You say that you need consistency, but then you settle for attention whenever they decide to return. You say that you deserve honesty, but then you ignore the lies because facing the truth feels too painful. Eventually, you stop believing your own words. This is one of the most dangerous costs of staying. You may think you are only losing time, but you are also losing faith in your ability to protect yourself. You stop trusting your judgment. You become dependent on the other person to tell you what is real. When they say you are too sensitive, you begin questioning your feelings. When they say you expect too much, you begin lowering your standards. When they accuse you of creating problems, you begin apologizing for having needs. Slowly, you become disconnected from yourself. You no longer ask, "Is this good for me?" You ask, "What can I do to keep them?" That question can change your entire personality. You become quieter. You stop bringing up problems. You pretend that certain behavior does not hurt. You avoid asking for clarity because you fear the answer. You make yourself easier to neglect because you are afraid that being honest will make them leave. You may call this compromise, but compromise requires effort from both people. When only one person keeps shrinking, it is not compromise, it is self-abandonment. Staying also costs you emotional energy. Every day, part of your mind is occupied with uncertainty. You analyze their tone, you study changes in their behavior. You wonder why they seem warm one day and distant the next. You search for explanations. You imagine conversations. You prepare for rejection before it happens. This constant mental activity is exhausting. Even when you are physically resting, emotionally, you remain alert. You are always waiting for the next change, the next silence, the next excuse, the next moment when you must prove that you are worth choosing. A healthy relationship should support your life. It should not consume all the energy you need to live it. When you are constantly emotionally drained, other areas begin to suffer. You may stop enjoying your hobbies. You may distance yourself from friends. You may delay important goals. You may lose interest in taking care of your body or improving your future. Your world becomes smaller because so much of your attention is focused on one person. The relationship becomes the center of your emotional life. Their mood controls your mood. Their attention decides whether you have a good day. Their silence makes you feel worthless. This gives another person far too much power over your well-being. Staying also costs you time. Time is one of the few things you can never recover. You may tell yourself that one more month will not matter. You may believe that one more chance will finally create change. But months become years. Years can be spent waiting for someone to become ready, honest, consistent, or emotionally available. During that time, your life continues moving. Opportunities pass. Friendships change. Your confidence decreases. You remain emotionally tied to someone who is still deciding whether they want what you have already been giving freely. The painful truth is that staying longer does not always make a relationship stronger. Sometimes it only makes the damage deeper. People often remain because leaving feels like admitting defeat. They think walking away means all their effort was wasted. They want the relationship to succeed, so the pain will have a purpose. They want the other person to change, so their patience will finally be rewarded. But time already spent is not a reason to spend more. If you have been walking in the wrong direction for a long time, continuing does not bring you closer to the right destination. It only takes you farther away. You must also understand the cost of waiting for potential. You may not be staying because of who the person is today. You may be staying because of who you believe they could become. You see their good side. You remember their promises. You imagine what the relationship might look like if they healed, changed, matured, or finally recognized your value. But you cannot build a peaceful life with potential. You must live with present behavior. Potential may explain why you hoped. It does not justify endless suffering. There is also a cost to normalizing poor treatment. The more you accept, the more familiar it becomes. You begin believing that love is supposed to feel uncertain. You begin thinking that anxiety is normal. You may later meet someone kind and consistent, yet struggle to trust them because chaos has become familiar. Healthy love may feel boring because it does not keep you guessing. Peace may feel strange because your nervous system has become used to tension. This is how one unhealthy connection can affect future relationships. It teaches you to expect less. It trains you to confuse pain with passion. It makes basic respect feel unusual. You must be honest about what staying is taking from you, not only what you hope to gain. Ask yourself how much confidence you have lost. Ask how many times you have ignored your instincts. Ask how many goals, friendships, and peaceful moments have been sacrificed while you waited for someone else to change. This is not about blaming yourself. It is about seeing the full truth. Sometimes leaving hurts, but staying can hurt more slowly and more deeply. Endurance is not always strength. Sometimes endurance is fear wearing the clothes of loyalty. Sometimes walking away is not giving up. It is finally refusing to keep paying for love with your identity, your peace, and your self-respect. The real question is not whether leaving will hurt. It probably will. The real question is whether remaining will continue costing you the person you were meant to become. Chapter 5. Choose yourself without becoming cruel. Choosing yourself does not mean becoming cold. It does not mean hating the person who hurt you. It does not mean pretending that you never cared. And it does not require you to turn them into a villain just so you can feel strong enough to leave. Sometimes people believe they need anger before they can walk away. They think they must collect every painful memory, focus only on the worst moments, and convince themselves that the other person was completely terrible. But that is not always necessary. You can recognize someone's good qualities and still admit that the relationship is unhealthy. You can appreciate the memories and still accept that the connection is damaging your peace. You can understand why someone behaves the way they do without continuing to allow that behavior into your life. Understanding is not the same as accepting. Compassion is not the same as permission. Forgiveness is not the same as access. This distinction is important because many people remain trapped in painful relationships simply because the other person is not cruel all the time. They think they are not a bad person. They remember the moments when the person was kind, supportive, or affectionate. They think about the pain the person has experienced. They excuse the behavior because they know the person is wounded. But someone does not need to be completely evil for the relationship to be wrong for you. A person can have a good heart and still be emotionally unavailable. They can care about you and still treat you inconsistently. They can have painful experiences and still be responsible for the pain they cause. Their past may explain their behavior, but it does not erase its effect on you. You are allowed to leave a situation that is destroying your emotional well-being, even if the other person never intended to destroy it. Intentions matter, but impact matters too. If someone repeatedly leaves you anxious, confused, and emotionally exhausted, You do not have to wait until they become openly cruel before taking yourself seriously. You do not need a dramatic betrayal. You do not need to catch them in a terrible lie. You do not need undeniable proof that they never loved you. Sometimes the absence of safety is enough. Sometimes the absence of consistency is enough. Sometimes the fact that you no longer recognize yourself is enough. Choosing yourself begins when you stop waiting for permission to protect your peace. You do not need the other person to agree with your decision. They may not understand why you are leaving. They may tell you that you are overreacting. They may remind you of everything they have done for you. They may accuse you of being selfish, ungrateful, or too demanding. But people who benefited from your lack of boundaries may feel offended when those boundaries finally become real. That does not mean the boundary is wrong. It means the relationship is changing. For a long time, you may have been the person who always understood, the person who forgave quickly, the person who accepted excuses, the person who kept the door open. When you stop playing that role, others may describe you as cold. But refusing to abandon yourself is not cruelty. Cruelty is intentionally causing harm. Choosing yourself is refusing to continue participating in harm. There is a difference. You can leave with honesty. You can say, "I care about you, but this relationship is no longer healthy for me." You can say, "I understand that you are struggling, but I cannot continue carrying the consequences of your struggle." You can say, "I forgive you, but I no longer trust this situation with my peace." You do not have to insult them. You do not have to expose them. You do not have to make them suffer in return. The goal is not revenge. The goal is freedom. Revenge keeps you emotionally connected because you are still allowing the person to control your thoughts and behavior. Freedom means you no longer need them to feel the pain they caused before you are willing to move forward. You choose yourself because you have suffered enough, not because you want them to suffer too. This is where maturity becomes necessary. You must learn to separate love from access. You may still love someone after realizing they are unhealthy for you. Feelings do not disappear simply because you made a wise decision. You may miss them. You may remember their voice. You may want to know how they are doing. You may even feel guilty for leaving. But love does not require unlimited access. You can care from a distance. You can wish them healing without making yourself part of the process. You can forgive them privately without reopening communication. You can want good things for them while choosing a life that no longer includes them. Distance is not always punishment. Sometimes distance is protection. You must also stop believing that choosing yourself means choosing only yourself. Healthy self-respect does not make you selfish. It helps you become more honest in every relationship. When you constantly betray your own needs, resentment eventually grows. You may continue giving, but your giving becomes heavy. You may continue smiling, but underneath the smile, you feel angry and exhausted. You may remain physically present while emotionally disappearing. This is not healthy love. Real love requires truth. If remaining connected to someone requires you to hide your pain, silence your needs, and ignore your limits, then the relationship is not asking for love. It is asking for self-erasure. Choosing yourself means refusing to disappear. It means listening when your body is constantly tense around someone. It means noticing when your stomach drops every time their name appears on your phone. It means taking your exhaustion seriously. Your body often recognizes danger before your mind is willing to accept the truth. You may keep making excuses, but your nervous system is already responding. You cannot relax. You are always preparing for disappointment. You are afraid to speak honestly. You feel relief when they are kind, instead of expecting kindness as a normal part of the relationship. These reactions are telling you something. Choosing yourself means listening. It also means accepting that you may never receive the apology you deserve. You may never hear them admit what they did. They may continue defending themselves. They may rewrite the story and make you responsible for everything. They may remember the relationship completely differently. This is painful because part of you wants confirmation. You want them to say, "You were right, I hurt you, you deserved better." But healing cannot depend on the person who hurt you understanding your pain. Sometimes closure is not a conversation. Sometimes closure is your decision to stop waiting for one. You close the door because the pattern has already answered your questions. You stop asking for explanations from someone whose behavior has been the clearest explanation. You stop reopening wounds simply because you want a more satisfying ending. The ending may never feel fair, but it can still be final. Choosing yourself may require silence. It may require removing their number. It may require unfollowing them. It may require refusing to answer the message that arrives when they feel lonely. These actions can feel harsh, especially when you are used to being available. But boundaries are not cruel simply because someone dislikes them. A locked door is not an attack on the person outside. It is protection for the person inside. The hardest part is staying consistent when guilt appears. You may question your decision. You may remember only the good moments. You may worry that you abandoned them, but ask yourself how many times you abandoned yourself to remain with them. Ask how often you ignored your pain to protect their comfort. Ask why their disappointment feels more important than your well-being. Choosing yourself means correcting that imbalance. You are not punishing them. You are ending the punishment you have been accepting. You are deciding that your peace deserves protection. You are admitting that love without respect is not enough. You are accepting that understanding someone does not require sacrificing yourself for them. You can leave without hatred. You can forgive without returning. You can care without continuing the relationship. And you can choose yourself without becoming cruel. Sometimes the kindest decision for everyone is to stop forcing a connection that keeps creating pain. Let them face their journey. Let them heal in their own time. Let them learn from the consequences of their choices, and allow yourself to do the same. You are not responsible for rescuing everyone you love, but you are responsible for refusing to lose yourself while trying. Chapter 6: The Withdrawal from Emotional Dependence. Letting go is not a single decision. It is a withdrawal. You may know that someone is wrong for you and still miss them. You may understand that the relationship was unhealthy and still feel tempted to return. You may remember the confusion, the disappointment, and the pain, yet find yourself thinking about the few moments when everything felt perfect. This does not mean you made the wrong decision. It means attachment does not disappear the moment truth becomes clear. Your mind may understand why you need to leave before your emotions are ready to accept the loss. For a long time, your emotional world may have revolved around this person. You waited for their messages. You studied their mood. You measured your day by how much attention they gave you. When they were affectionate, you felt calm. When they became distant, you felt anxious. When they returned, you felt relief. Without realizing it, you became dependent not only on the person, but on the emotional cycle they created. This is why letting go can feel like losing control. Your mind has become used to the pattern: hope, distance, fear, attention, relief, then distance again. The unpredictability made the connection feel powerful. When affection is consistent, it feels normal. But when affection is rare, every small moment of closeness feels unusually valuable. A simple message can feel like proof that everything is changing. A short apology can feel like healing. One good day can erase weeks of disappointment in your mind. This is how inconsistency creates emotional dependence. You begin craving relief from the same person who caused the anxiety. They hurt you, then become the person you want comfort from. They disappear, then their return feels like rescue. They create the wound, then their attention temporarily covers it. This cycle can feel like love because the emotions are intense. But intensity is not always intimacy. Sometimes intensity is simply instability. The connection feels deep because it constantly activates fear, hope, longing, and relief. Your emotions remain active, but that does not mean the relationship is healthy. You may even believe that nobody else will ever make you feel the same way. That may be true. A healthy person may not make you feel the same way, because a healthy relationship will not keep you in emotional survival. It will not force you to earn basic attention. It will not make peace feel temporary. It will not turn communication into a reward you receive after suffering. Healthy love may feel quieter. At first, quiet love can seem less exciting when you are used to chaos. Consistency may feel boring when unpredictability has trained your nervous system to expect constant emotional changes. But peace is not boredom. Safety is not lack of passion. Stability is not weakness. You must learn to stop measuring love by how strongly it disturbs you. When you first walk away, the absence can feel unbearable. You may wake up thinking about them. You may reach for your phone without realizing it. You may imagine what they are doing and whether they miss you. You may feel tempted to check their social media. You may search for signs that they are hurting too. You may hope they post something that proves they regret losing you. These actions may appear small, but they keep the attachment alive. Every time you check their profile, you reopen the connection. Every time you reread old messages, you return emotionally to the relationship. Every time you ask someone for an update, you feed the part of you that is still waiting. You may tell yourself that you are only curious, but often, curiosity is hope wearing a quieter name. You are not simply looking for information. You are looking for evidence that they still care. You are looking for a reason to return. You are hoping to discover that your absence finally changed them. But their regret is not your healing. Their loneliness is not proof of growth. Their sudden attention does not erase the pattern that forced you to leave. To break emotional dependence, you must stop feeding it. This may mean removing their number. It may mean deleting old conversations. It may mean muting or blocking their accounts. It may mean avoiding places where you know you will see them. These decisions are not childish. They are not dramatic. They are practical. You cannot heal from something while repeatedly placing yourself in front of it. You would not keep touching a physical wound and expect it to close. Emotional wounds need protection too. There will be moments when your mind tries to negotiate. You may think, I will only send one message. You may tell yourself that you need one final conversation. You may believe you can remain friends immediately, but be honest about your intentions. Are you truly looking for friendship, or are you hoping the connection will begin again? Are you seeking closure, or are you trying to reopen the door? Sometimes the desire for one final conversation is only the desire for another chance. Real closure rarely comes from repeating the same discussion with someone who already understood your pain and continued the behavior. Closure comes when you accept that the pattern itself was the answer. Withdrawal also brings loneliness. You may not only miss the person, you may miss the routine. You may miss having someone to think about. You may miss the imagined future. You may miss the version of yourself who believed everything would eventually work. This grief is real. You are not only letting go of what happened, you are letting go of what you hoped would happen. Allow yourself to grieve that future. Do not mock yourself for caring. Do not pretend the loss means nothing. You can admit that you miss them without contacting them. You can feel sadness without treating sadness as a command to return. Emotions are not instructions. Missing someone does not mean they belong in your life. Feeling lonely does not mean you should reopen a harmful relationship. Pain does not automatically mean you made the wrong decision. Sometimes pain is simply the cost of ending a cycle that had become familiar. During this period, you must create new sources of stability. Build routines that do not include them. Call someone you trust when the urge to reach out becomes strong. Write down the reasons you left and read them when your memory begins romanticizing the past. Move your body, leave the house. Return to hobbies that disappeared while the relationship consumed you. Fill your time with activities that remind you that your life is larger than one connection. Do not expect healing to happen in a straight line. Some days you will feel strong. Other days you will feel as if you have made no progress. You may go an entire week without thinking about them, then hear a song or visit a familiar place and feel the grief again. That does not mean you have returned to the beginning. Healing is not measured by never feeling pain. It is measured by how you respond when the pain returns. In the past, sadness may have sent you back to them. Now, sadness can become something you survive without betraying yourself. Each time you resist the urge to contact them, you strengthen a new pattern. Each time you choose peace over temporary relief, you rebuild trust in yourself. Each time you allow the feeling to pass without acting on it, you prove that your emotions do not control you. Eventually, the silence changes. At first, silence feels like rejection. Then, it feels like emptiness. Later, it begins to feel peaceful. One day, you realize you are no longer waiting for their message. You no longer check whether they viewed your story. You no longer need to know whether they miss you. Their attention stops feeling like a necessity. That is when you begin understanding the difference between losing someone and recovering yourself. You may still remember them, you may still care about them, but they no longer have control over your emotional stability. Their presence does not decide your worth. Their absence does not destroy your day. You stop needing them to return because you have finally returned to yourself. Letting go is not about forgetting that the person existed. It is about breaking the belief that you cannot be whole without them. The withdrawal may be painful, but the pain is temporary. Remaining emotionally dependent would have continued costing you your peace. Stay with the silence long enough. Eventually, it will stop feeling like something is missing. It will begin feeling like space. Space to breathe, space to heal, space to rebuild, and space to become someone who no longer mistakes emotional chaos for love. Chapter 7. Rebuild the life you neglected. When you spend too much time trying to be chosen by someone, your life slowly begins to shrink. At first, you may not notice it. You still go to work. You still speak to friends. You still complete your responsibilities. From the outside, everything may look normal, but inside, more and more of your emotional energy begins revolving around one person. You wake up, wondering whether they will contact you. You check your phone before your feet touch the floor. You replay yesterday's conversation while getting ready. You struggle to focus because part of your mind is always waiting for a message, an apology, or some sign that you still matter. Your life continues, but you are not fully present in it. You are physically in one place and emotionally somewhere else. This is one of the quietest ways an unhealthy connection takes over. It does not always destroy your life in one dramatic moment. Sometimes it simply keeps pulling your attention away from everything else until the relationship becomes the center of your world. Your mood depends on them. Your confidence depends on them. Your peace depends on whether they are warm or distant. When they give you attention, you feel hopeful. When they withdraw, everything feels heavy. Without realizing it, you have handed another person control over the emotional climate of your entire life. This is why letting go is not only about ending a connection. It is about rebuilding everything you neglected while trying to hold that connection together. You must return to your own life, not the life you imagined having with them, not the future they hinted at, not the version of reality you kept hoping would arrive. Your actual life, the one that has been waiting for your attention. Think about what disappeared while you were focused on being chosen. Perhaps you stopped doing things that once made you feel alive. Maybe you used to exercise, read, create, travel, learn, pray, write, or spend time outdoors. Maybe you had goals that once excited you. You wanted to improve your career. You wanted to start a business. You wanted to care for your health. You wanted to become more confident and independent. Then the relationship consumed your energy. Your plans were delayed because you were emotionally exhausted. Your routines became inconsistent. Your dreams began to feel less important than keeping someone's attention. You may even have stopped spending time with people who genuinely cared about you. Friends invited you out, but you stayed home in case the person called. Family members tried to speak to you, but your mind was elsewhere. You became less available to those who chose you because you were too busy chasing someone who did not. This is painful to admit, but necessary. Sometimes we neglect real love while waiting for uncertain love to become real. Rebuilding your life begins by redirecting your attention. For a long time, you may have asked, "What are they thinking?" Now ask, "What do I need?" You may have asked, "Will they come back?" Now ask, "Where do I want my life to go?" You may have asked, "How can I make them choose me?" Now ask, "What choices would make me respect myself again?" These questions may feel unfamiliar because you have spent so long organizing your thoughts around another person. At first, you may not know what you want. That is normal. When you repeatedly ignore yourself, your own voice becomes difficult to hear. You have to create enough silence to recognize it again. Start with simple things. Create a morning that does not begin with checking their profile. Make your bed, drink water, go outside, stretch your body, write down what you want to complete that day. These actions may seem small, but they send an important message to your mind. Your life is moving again. Your attention belongs to you again. You are no longer beginning every day by emotionally reporting to someone who is not even present. Take care of your body. Emotional pain often makes people disconnect from themselves physically. You may sleep too much or not enough. You may stop eating properly. You may remain indoors for long periods. You may use distractions to avoid feeling anything. But your body has carried you through every difficult moment. It deserves care, not punishment. Move in ways that make you feel stronger. Eat food that gives you energy. Rest without feeling guilty. Wear clothes that make you feel present and confident. Do not take care of yourself to make them regret losing you. That still makes them the center of the process. Take care of yourself because you are finally treating your life as something worth protecting. Return to your goals. You do not need to transform everything immediately. You do not need to become a completely new person overnight. That kind of pressure usually creates another form of disappointment. Choose one area that needs your attention. Perhaps your finances have become disorganized. Perhaps your work has suffered. Perhaps you stopped studying. Perhaps there is a project you kept delaying. Begin there. Give yourself a task that requires focus. Complete something. Progress creates evidence that your life is larger than your heartbreak. Every finished task reminds you that you are capable of building, not only grieving. Reconnect with people who make you feel safe. Isolation can make emotional dependence stronger. When one person becomes your only source of connection, losing them feels like losing everything. But no single relationship should carry the full weight of your emotional life. Call the friend you kept avoiding. Sit with family without constantly checking your phone. Spend time with people who do not make you perform for their affection. Notice how different it feels to be around those who welcome you without making you prove your value. You may also need to repair some relationships. Perhaps people became tired of watching you return to the same painful situation. Maybe you disappeared when they tried to help. You do not need to defend yourself. You can simply admit that you became lost in something unhealthy. A sincere conversation may restore connections that still matter. But rebuilding your life also requires learning to be alone, not abandoned, not unwanted, alone. There is a difference. Abandonment feels like someone has taken love away from you. Solitude is the ability to remain connected to yourself when nobody else is present. If you have spent years chasing attention, being alone may feel uncomfortable. Silence may expose thoughts you have been avoiding. You may notice how often you reach for your phone simply because you do not know what to do with your own company. Do not run from this discomfort. Sit with it. Take yourself somewhere without waiting for another person to join you. Eat a meal alone. Walk without headphones. Visit a place you wanted to see. Spend an evening without searching for distraction. At first, it may feel empty. Then you begin noticing something important. You are not as difficult to be with as you believed. Your own company can become peaceful. You do not need constant attention to feel real. Learning to enjoy solitude changes the way you choose relationships. When you are terrified of being alone, you may accept almost anyone. You tolerate disrespect because you believe poor company is better than no company. You stay in confusing relationships because loneliness feels like failure. But when you become comfortable alone, your standards become stronger. You no longer choose people because you need someone. You choose them because their presence genuinely improves the life you already have. This is where many people struggle. They say they want healthy love, but they have built no life outside of love. So when someone appears, they make that person responsible for all their happiness. That responsibility becomes too heavy. A relationship should be part of your life. It should not replace your identity. You need goals that belong to you, friendships that exist independently, interests that do not disappear when someone enters the room, beliefs, routines, and principles that remain steady whether you are loved, rejected, praised, or ignored. Rebuilding also means correcting what emotional chaos taught you. You may have become used to mixed signals. Because of that, stability may now feel strange. A calm person may seem less exciting. Clear communication may feel suspicious. Someone who replies consistently may not create the same rush as someone who disappears and returns. This does not mean the stable person lacks depth. It means your nervous system became trained to associate love with uncertainty. You must retrain it. You must learn that healthy love does not require constant panic. You do not have to feel afraid in order to feel connected. You do not have to earn every peaceful moment. You do not have to wonder when kindness will be taken away. Real love may feel quieter than the relationships that hurt you. It may grow slowly. It may not keep you awake at night. It may not create dramatic highs and painful lows. Do not mistake peace for lack of chemistry. Sometimes what you once called chemistry was anxiety. Sometimes what you called passion was the fear of losing someone. Sometimes what you called a deep connection was simply emotional dependence. Rebuilding your life teaches you to recognize the difference. You also need to forgive yourself for what you neglected. It is easy to look back and feel ashamed. You may think about the time you lost, the opportunities you ignored, the many times you returned after promising yourself you would leave. But shame will not rebuild you. Honesty will. You made decisions based on what you understood at the time. Now you understand more. Your responsibility is not to punish the past version of yourself. Your responsibility is to make better choices with what you know now. Use regret as information. Let it show you where your boundaries were weak. Let it teach you what you no longer want to repeat. But do not turn your mistakes into a permanent identity. You were not foolish because you loved. You became trapped because you kept placing love above self-respect. Now you have the chance to correct that. As your life becomes fuller, something changes. You stop feeling as if losing one person means losing your future. You begin waking up with plans that have nothing to do with them. You experience moments of happiness and realize you did not need their attention to create them. You laugh without wondering whether they miss you. You complete a goal without imagining how impressed they would be. You start living for yourself rather than performing for an absent audience. This is freedom, not the moment when you forget them completely, the moment when they stop being the center of everything. You may still remember. You may still feel sadness occasionally, but your life is no longer paused. You are moving, growing, becoming. One day, you will look around and realize that the space they left is no longer empty. It has been filled with your health, your friendships, your ambitions, your confidence, your peace, your identity. You will understand that letting go did not leave you with less. It returned everything you had neglected while trying to be chosen. The goal is not to build such a perfect life that you never need anyone. Human beings need connection. The goal is to build a life strong enough that you do not abandon it for anyone. A life with enough purpose that another person's inconsistency cannot destroy your direction. A life with enough self-respect that love must enter with honesty, effort, and clarity. Do not rebuild yourself to become more desirable to the person who failed to choose you. Rebuild because you are the one who must live inside your life. Make it peaceful, make it meaningful, make it yours. Choosing yourself is not only walking away from the person who hurt you, it is walking back toward every part of yourself you left behind while chasing them. And the more you return to your own life, the less you will miss the version of yourself who was willing to lose everything just to avoid losing someone. Chapter 8. Let them lose access to you. There comes a point when talking is no longer enough. You have explained how their behavior affects you. You have told them what you need. You have asked for honesty, consistency, and respect. You have given them opportunities to understand. You have waited for their actions to match their promises, but nothing meaningful has changed. At that point, repeating yourself is not communication, it is self-abandonment. You are no longer trying to help them understand, you are trying to convince them to care. And care cannot be forced through better explanations. A person who repeatedly ignores your pain is not always confused. Sometimes they understand perfectly. They simply believe you will stay anyway. This is why boundaries must eventually become real. A boundary is not only something you say, it is something you are willing to protect. You can tell someone that their behavior is unacceptable, but if you continue giving them the same access after they repeat it, your words lose meaning. They learn that your limits can be negotiated. They learn that an apology will reopen the door. They learn that temporary affection is enough to make you forget the pattern. They learn that your pain has no lasting consequence. This does not mean you should punish people whenever they make a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. Healthy relationships require patience, communication, and forgiveness. But there is a difference between a mistake and a pattern. A mistake is followed by responsibility. A pattern is followed by excuses. A mistake creates change. A pattern creates another promise. A mistake is something both people work to repair. A pattern is something one person keeps repeating while the other keeps tolerating it. When the same wound is reopened again and again, leaving is not cruel, it is necessary. Letting someone lose access to you means accepting that they may not like your decision. They may accuse you of changing. They may say you have become cold. They may call you selfish. They may claim that you gave up too easily, even after you spent months or years trying to make the relationship work. Do not allow their version of events to erase your experience. People often remember your final reaction while forgetting the repeated behavior that created it. They may focus on the day you walked away and ignore every day you begged for change. They may describe your boundary as sudden because they did not take your warnings seriously. But your decision was not sudden. It was built from every disappointment you tried to forgive, every conversation that changed nothing, every promise that expired, every night you spent wondering why your feelings were not enough to inspire basic respect. You do not need them to agree that you have suffered enough. You are allowed to decide that for yourself. One of the hardest moments will come when they realize you are serious. They may suddenly become the person you always wanted them to be. They may call more often. They may speak with greater emotion. They may finally say the words you begged to hear. They may promise that everything will be different. And because part of you still cares, you may feel tempted to believe them. But do not confuse panic with transformation. People often make their greatest effort when they feel access disappearing. This does not always mean they have changed. It may only mean they are afraid of losing the comfort you provided. They miss your presence. They miss your loyalty. They miss knowing that someone would always answer. They miss the reassurance of being wanted. But missing access is not the same as becoming capable of commitment. A desperate promise made at the edge of consequences is not proof of lasting change. Real change is not measured by tears, speeches, gifts, or one emotional conversation. It is measured by sustained behavior over time. It appears when there is no immediate reward. It continues after the fear of losing you has passed. It requires responsibility, patience, and consistency. Do not return simply because they finally feel the pain you have been carrying alone. Their discomfort does not automatically mean they have developed the character required to treat you differently. You must judge the situation by the pattern, not the performance. Ask yourself whether you have seen this before. Have they apologized after hurting you, only to repeat the same behavior later? Have they promised change whenever you tried to leave? Have they become attentive until they felt certain you were staying, then returned to their old habits? If so, you are not witnessing a new beginning. You are watching the familiar cycle restart. This is why letting go requires more than emotion. It requires memory. When you miss them, remember the full relationship. Do not remember only the tenderness. Remember the confusion. Do not remember only the apologies. Remember what kept happening after them. Do not remember only the person they became when you were leaving. Remember the person they were when they believed you would never go. That version reveals more. Anyone can become attentive when consequences arrive. Character is revealed in how someone treats you when they feel secure in your loyalty. Letting them lose access may require practical decisions. You may need to stop replying. You may need to remove them from social media. You may need to block their number. You may need to ask mutual friends not to update you. You may need to stop visiting places where you hope to see them. You may need to return belongings, remove reminders, and make the ending physically real. These actions may feel extreme if you are used to leaving the door open, but an open door is dangerous when you know you will walk through it every time you feel lonely. You are not weak for needing distance. You are being honest about the strength of the attachment. Some people try to prove their maturity by staying available. They say they want to remain friends. They continue answering calls. They keep offering emotional support. They allow the person to return whenever life becomes difficult. But often, this is not maturity. It is an inability to let the relationship end. You cannot heal while continuing to perform the same role. You cannot become emotionally independent while remaining the person they contact whenever they need comfort. You cannot move forward if part of you is still waiting for friendship to turn back into love. Sometimes complete distance is the only honest choice, not forever in every situation, but long enough for your emotions to stop controlling your decisions, long enough for you to remember who you are without their presence, long enough for their attention to lose its power over you. You may feel guilty, you may imagine them struggling, you may worry that your silence is hurting them. But ask yourself why their pain suddenly feels more urgent than the pain they repeatedly caused you. Where was this concern for yourself when you were crying, waiting, doubting, and losing confidence? Why do you feel responsible for protecting them from the natural result of their choices? Consequences are not cruelty. If someone repeatedly chooses behavior that damages the relationship, they are also choosing the possibility of losing it. You are not doing something terrible to them by leaving. You are simply refusing to keep protecting them from reality. Let them experience your absence. Let them understand that access to you is not guaranteed. Let them discover that loyalty can be lost when it is repeatedly abused. This is not revenge. You are not disappearing to manipulate them into chasing you. You are not creating distance to make them afraid. You are leaving because staying is damaging you. Your goal is not to control their reaction. Your goal is to regain control of your own life. That distinction matters. If you leave only to make them return, you are still emotionally dependent. You will watch your phone. You will study their response. You will wait for proof that your absence affected them. Your attention will remain trapped in the same relationship. Real letting go means accepting that they may not chase you. They may move on quickly. They may appear unaffected. They may find someone else. They may never give you the apology, regret, or recognition you hope to receive. And you must still choose yourself. Your healing cannot depend on whether they understand what they lost. Some people only recognize value after losing access. Others never recognize it at all. Neither response changes what you deserve. You must stop making their awareness the condition of your freedom. Let them tell their version of the story. They may portray themselves as the victim. They may leave out the details that make them uncomfortable. They may tell others that you became distant for no reason. You cannot control this. Trying to correct every misunderstanding will keep you connected to the drama. People who truly know your character will not need a campaign, and people committed to misunderstanding you will not be persuaded by explanations. Your peace is more valuable than winning the story. You do not need to prove that leaving was justified. You need to live in a way that confirms it was necessary. Build a life that no longer revolves around defending your decision. Let your improved peace speak. Let your restored confidence speak. Let the version of you who no longer begs, chases, and waits become the answer. You were not born to spend your life auditioning for a permanent place in someone's heart. You should not have to prove your value through endless patience. You should not have to compete with their confusion. You should not have to become easier to neglect just to remain included. The right people will not require you to lose yourself before they agree to keep you. They will not enjoy your love while refusing to define your place. They will not punish you for needing clarity. They will not make you feel guilty for expecting respect. This does not mean every healthy relationship will be effortless. It means the effort will be shared. You will not carry the entire emotional weight while the other person decides whether you are worth choosing. Until that kind of love enters your life, being alone is not failure. Your life is not empty because someone no longer has access to it. You still have your time, your mind, your plans, your dignity, your ability to rebuild. You are not waiting to become worthy. You are learning to stop offering yourself to people who behave as if your worth is negotiable. Letting someone lose access to you is one of the clearest ways to choose yourself. It means your words finally match your actions. It means you stop threatening to leave and begin protecting the boundary. It means you stop accepting temporary effort as proof of permanent change. It means you allow consequences to teach what your explanations could not. They may regret losing you. They may not. That is no longer your responsibility. Your responsibility is to stop wasting years on someone who keeps asking you to wait while giving you no solid reason to stay. Let them lose access to your attention, your loyalty, your emotional support, your availability, your forgiveness without change. Let them understand that your presence was a privilege, not a permanent resource they could use without care. And when loneliness tries to reopen the door, remember why you closed it. You did not leave because you stopped caring. You left because caring for them had taught you to stop caring for yourself. You did not leave to punish them. You left to end the punishment you had been accepting. You did not choose absence because you wanted to be cruel. You chose it because your dignity could no longer survive unlimited access. Close the door, not with hatred, not with revenge, with clarity. Let them go wherever their choices take them, and allow yourself to move toward a life where you never again have to beg anyone to choose you. You may still miss them. You may still wonder whether leaving was the right decision. But remember this: the right decision does not always feel good immediately. Sometimes it feels lonely before it feels peaceful. Sometimes it breaks your heart before it restores your dignity. You cannot force someone to recognize your value. You cannot love someone into choosing you. You cannot keep giving more of yourself and expect their uncertainty to become commitment. At some point, waiting becomes self-abandonment. So stop standing at doors that only open when the other person feels lonely. Stop accepting temporary attention as proof of permanent love. Stop calling confusion a connection just because you are afraid to let go. You deserve relationships where you are not constantly guessing, where effort is mutual, where care is consistent, where your presence is appreciated, not merely used. Choosing yourself may cost you people. It may cost you familiar routines, imagined futures, and the version of you who believed patience could change everything. But refusing to choose yourself will cost you far more. It will cost you your peace, your confidence, your time, and eventually your identity. Let them go, not because you never cared, but because you finally understand that love should not require you to betray yourself. The people who truly value you will not make you beg for a place in their lives. They will not keep you close enough to hope and distant enough to hurt. And until that kind of love arrives, choose your own company, choose your own peace, choose your own future, choose yourself when no one else does. Because the moment you stop begging to be chosen is the moment your life finally begins to belong to you again.